Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ahmed TAHIRI JOUTI, and I'm glad to welcome you again in this free online course. As presented previously, the first chapter of the book addresses the interest rate benchmarking issue in the Islamic finance industry and tries to explain the reasons behind this phenomenon. In this chapter, we have three videos. The first video tries to explain the debate on interest rate benchmarking in the Islamic finance industry. The second video presents the fourth market theory, while the third one gives some hints about the Islamic alternative to the fourth markets. So let's start with the first video. Detractors of the Islamic finance industry consider its banking model and products as a tricky way to attract customers who have a religious concern, while applying the same conventional financial mechanisms. Several researches conducted in dual banking systems confirmed this perception in countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, and others. Islamic banks take into account interest rates when determining profit rates for both financing products and term deposit accounts. In practice, conventional interest rates such as LIBOR, SIBOR serve as the main benchmarks for the pricing of Islamic financial products, since they are allowed by various Islamic scholars on the basis of the non-availability of substitutes. The Islamic International Fiqh Academy, on its part, in its 8th conference, issued resolution number 7, calling for the creation of a new benchmark that is acceptable from a Sharia perspective as an alternative to interest-based rates for determining profit margins. Many research papers explored new paths to identify adequate alternatives to interest rate benchmarking and suggested models and indexes that can serve as Islamic pricing benchmarks for Islamic financial institutions. So let us see and explore together those suggestions. Researchers have adopted two different approaches to tackle the pricing index issue in Islamic finance. The first is to suggest a unique profit rate benchmark that would apply to all products regardless of the underlying contracts. The second path consists of suggesting a methodology to calculate a profit rate benchmark per sector, project, or product based on real economy factors. The first suggestion belongs to Shahata and Omar in 2002. It consists of creating a benchmark index based on the rate of dividend of Islamic bank deposit and investment accounts where the interest rate is replaced by a profit rate. Well, this suggestion seems to be relevant if and only if the rate of return paid to investment account holders is not based on interest rate benchmarks of term deposits in conventional banks. The Inter-Islamic Banks Market Index proposed by Osmani in 2007 consists of creating a common pool that invests in asset-backed instruments and tangible assets. The shares in this pool would be freely negotiable, and the value of these shares may serve as an index for Islamic pricing. This suggestion is interesting. Nevertheless, it requires the willingness of the financial authorities to set up an Islamic interbank market. It also requires a significant number of players. Indeed, for financial authorities, interest rate benchmarking may be perceived as a monetary policy transmission mechanisms to Islamic financial institutions. Therefore, any Islamic pricing alternative would alter this mechanism. Rental index seems to be a very interesting alternative to interest rate for Islamic home financing. It is a real economy indicator. Nevertheless, if this proposal seems relevant for home financing, it is important to identify equivalent indexes for other economic sectors and other financing products. The asset pricing theory model, developed by ISRA, the International Sharia Research Academy for Islamic Finance, serves as a viable benchmark rate for the whole market. It recognizes four macroeconomic variables as having good return predictability for all sectors, notably industry production growth,
the Kuala Lumpur Composite Index return, the money supply changes, and the ringgit exchange rate.
In practice, none of these suggestions have been implemented. This leads us to question the relevance and adequacy of a Sharia-compliant pricing index for the Islamic finance industry to fit market practices and constraints. Certainly, adjusting the Islamic pricing method requires economic reforms. Therefore, it is important to compare the conventional and Islamic visions of money and its role in the economy.
Islamic and conventional scholars agree on the functions undertaken by money in a defined economy. Islamic scholars consider the medium of exchange function as the main function of money. The other functions, unit of accounts and store of value, are just derived from its principal function. From the conventional perspective, money plays the same functions but is considered as a commodity that has a price, notably the rate of interest. This price is defined based on equilibrium between the demand for investments and savings, which represent the supply of capital. The preference for liquidity theory, as advocated by Keynes in 1936, defines the interest rate as the price that equilibrates the desire to hold wealth in the form of cash with the available quantity of cash. Keynes declared that the concept of hoarding may be regarded as a first approximation to the concept of liquidity preference, and that interest is in fact the reward of not hoarding. In Islam, money is not a commodity that has a price, and hoarding is considered as a financial crime. Therefore, instead of rewarding the not hoarding behavior, Islamic law prevents such practices through the application of zakat. The equation of exchange by Fisher, 1911, gives an explanation about the impact of money on prices. The equation is composed of two sides. The first side comprises the quantity of money in circulation, M, and the velocity of circulation of money, V, and the second side includes the quantities of goods exchanged, Q, and the prices of these goods. According to Fisher, a doubling in V, velocity of circulation of money, will double P, the prices, provided that the quantity of money in circulation, M, and Q, the quantities exchanged of goods, remain as before. Similarly, a doubling in M, the money in circulation, will double prices, provided that V and Q remain as before. Therefore, increase in V or M will have an impact on market prices. Moreover, any change in the interest rates applied will increase or decrease the quantity of money in circulation, M, and will lead to a change in terms of market prices. These changes will have a significant impact on investment and employment. From the Islamic perspective, market prices go up or down if and only if the quantities of goods exchanged increase or decrease. Increasing or decreasing the quantity of money is not deemed as the right option. Moreover, Islam provides zakat as a solution to increase the velocity of circulation of money in a proper manner, to safeguard the purchasing power and stabilize market prices. The experience of Vorgel, an Austrian municipality, seems to be relevant to understand the link between zakat and economic cycles. The principles underlying the Vorgel experience are similar to those of zakat. Enter Gugi Bigger, Vorgel's burgomaster, set up a plan to stimulate the economy of the municipality. The town authorities issued local notes that were called tickets for services rendered. Those notes decreased in value by 1 cent every month. Therefore, the recipients had two options. The first option was to buy a stamp from the municipality to extend the life of the local notes. Otherwise, as a second option, they needed to spend their notes immediately in shops that used them to pay taxes to the municipality. Then, the municipality used them again to pay the bills. During the first month, the coins issued by the municipality had made the complete cycle no less than 20 times. Moreover, the stamp taxes collected went to the Poor Relief Fund and unemployment decreased. The stamp taxes were designed to fight against hoarding and were paid to the poor, adopting the same principles underlying zakat.
The literature related to interest rate benchmarking in the Islamic finance industry focused more on its application on Islamic financial services and product levels. The macroeconomic aspects appear to be neglected, such as the impact of interest rates on prices and on real economy markets. It is worth noting that the conclusions and findings related to theories of conventional economics are still valid in the context of hybrid financial systems. The aim of this chapter is to address the issue of interest rate benchmarking based on the macroeconomic principles underlying conventional finance and Islamic finance.
I think the debate on interest rate benchmarking in the Islamic finance industry is clear enough for you. Now, in the next video, we will discuss the interest rate benchmarking from a macroeconomic perspective. See you then.